Mhm. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to today's broadcast of Ask the Talk Doctor Live. We are so glad that you have chosen to gift yourself this time. Ask the Talk Doctor Live is a show that airs weekly on Fridays, Eastern Standard Time at noon. And we are so grateful for all of our guests who constantly are here with us and join us each week just to, explore this wonderful platform that we have created because we feel that it is such a needed and necessary platform, especially in today's trying times. So I am Dr. Dacia P. Hastings. I'm a psychotherapist, speaker, wellness consultant, and life coach. And my beautiful co-host is Star Brianna. Say hey, Star Brianna.
Hi, everybody. I'm Star Brianna.
Yes.
I'm a creative director. I am a content creator.
An entrepreneur, a creative thinker, all of those
Everything.
things that we love so much and that's so necessary in today's time.
Mhm.
So wherever you're joining us from, East Coast, West Coast, all around the world, we thank you, and we're grateful that you're here. We have a wonderful topic for you today. It's one of those topics that is also a passion of mine that I love to share my faith. And we're going to be talking today about digging deeper, exercising your faith. And this was actually an idea of Star Brianna. I'm really grateful that she really thought about this topic and wanted us to talk about it today. And we really hope that it will resonate with you. So wherever you're joining us from, we hope you will lean in and remember the chat or comment box is always available to you for you to share your questions, your comments. We want to hear about you, your faith as well as we go through this broadcast today. Star Brianna, most people think that faith is something spiritual or religious. And I find that a lot of times they might shy away from publicly talking about their faith because of oftentimes what faith might represent, again, a religious connotation. But for me, I think faith is so much deeper than that. I think that we are beings of faith.
Yeah.
And if we're not exercising our faith or even understand what that really means, then I really think we're lost. What do you think?
I'd agree with that. And for the next, few minutes or however long we have here with you guys, I love the word exercising and exercising your faith. Like, I want you guys to kind of drill that in your mind if it's not already in your mind, that it's an action. Like every time you're telling someone to have faith or you're reminding yourself to have faith, it's something that you are putting into practice, something that you're doing.
Lean in a little bit more myself.
You have to lean in.
You have to lean in, as we said that. I think that's a little bit better. So I think that you're absolutely right. And looking at it from the perspective of an action word, as opposed to, something that is passively happening to you is also very important. Now, faith can also be passive because, you don't always see yourself doing something, but the simple act of believing and hoping is truly, active when you think about it.
It is, because it's kind of subconsciously, not kind of, but it's subconsciously in your mind that you're having faith that something amazing is going to happen, and even if it seems like, nothing's happening or it's been so long, nothing's happening, it's still drilled like in your mind that, at the end of this,
whatever this is,
it's going to be great.
There's going to be a favorable outcome.
Yeah.
I think we need to get on the same page with everyone here and just maybe give, some sort of basis for what faith really is. And the best way for me to really foundationally tell you guys about faith is I'm thinking about a scripture found in Hebrews 11:1, where it talks about faith being something that we hope for, even when we can't see it. and not simply put. And really and truly, regardless of who you are, where you fall on the spectrum of life, we are all beings of faith simply because you wake up every morning. And that's an act of faith, because you wake up every morning and you expect something good is going to happen in your life. And even if you're not expecting for something good, you know that when you get in your car and get on your way to work or the metro or whatever you take, the subway, or you believe that you're going to get to your destination in one piece safely. That's faith.
Exactly.
You can't see it. It hasn't happened.
But you believe for it.
Absolutely. You believe for it. That you're going to be fine. Yeah.
So I want you to share with us a story of a time that you've had to exercise faith.
Oh, wow. Do I have to go first?
Or
there are so many. Okay, well, since you asked, and then I think that it would be great for you to share one. There are so many. Like I said, I think that, just the simple fact of who we are beings of faith. And I truly believe that we should really be mindful and present that these things are happening in our lives and not just happenstance or chance. And one that I'm thinking of, I mean, this one was one of the biggest faith messages of my life. You were really little then, and I remember I always had this entrepreneurial spirit. It's this calling, this stirring that I've always had in my soul. And I always knew that I wanted to be somebody that could independently change the world based on, my passions, my gifts, the things that I believed in. And when you have this stirring in your soul, that stirring doesn't go away. No. And it sort of keeps knocking at your door year after year. And I remember working in my profession at this organization, and I was making a very comfortable salary. I was managing a staff, but I wasn't happy. My soul wasn't feeling fulfilled. And again, at that time, I remember you being very little. At the time, I was a single mom as well. And that, for some of you who are probably listening now and thinking, how can I step out on faith? A lot of times your circumstances might hold you back. And that's where I was. I'm thinking to myself, I have a little one, I have a mortgage, I have responsibilities, and I'm making this comfortable salary, but this is not where I'm supposed to be. And I remember talking to this businessman who was very successful in his tech company that he had started, and was just telling me about, his journey, because I really wanted to know, like, how did you do it? How did you allow yourself to just step out on faith and start? And he said, you just have to do it. And I remember after our conversation, he said, I'm challenging you now to go back to your office and write up your resignation letter. And I could just feel the fear welling up inside me. I made all kinds of excuses as to why I couldn't do that challenge right then and there. But if you know me, I love a great challenge. And I was not about to let that challenge slip by. So it took me, some time, some weeks, but that same year, I remember strategizing and just saying to myself, this is it. I've got to do this. It's now or never. And some would say, gosh, how could you walk away from a comfortable salary? How did you know what you were going to get? That's faith. I didn't know what I was going to get. And years and years and years later, here I am, still going, still walking this faith-filled life.
Yeah, that's such a message for so many people. I
love
that story. You didn't know what was going to come next. You were already comfortable. You were already making a decent amount of money, and then you don't know what's going to come next. Am I going to make that same money? Am I going to make less? Am I not? But you have faith, and here you are, the top doctor.
Absolutely. That I didn't know what was going to happen. You're right. And sometimes, things like money can be a barrier, in terms of us just realizing our calling and exercising our faith. And, for you listening, I challenge you, to identify those barriers in your life that are really holding you back from digging deeper. There is so much more to you than you can even realize. And you may feel that same stirring in your soul, but again, you have these barriers that are just, holding you back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that story.
What about yours?
Mine, this story, I like to say that kind of like propelled me a little bit. This is going on almost 2 years now. I had an Instagram account, and this is around the time where I really started developing my own personal relationship with God, and really learning to trust Him and not just like, going to church, which going to church, it's beautiful. I'm going to go to church forever, but like just my own, not what I've learned, just in my own spirit, really hearing Him. And I can remember just sitting outside, and it just came to me just like that I needed to go on Instagram Live. And if you know me, I am extremely shy by nature, okay? That is so far out of my comfort zone. Like I would never want to do something like that. But I just was like, God told me to do it. I have to do it. I don't know what's gonna come out of it. I just know God told me to do it, and it was like an 8-day thing that He and I put together, and it was called Get Ready for Overflow. And in that time, I was really expecting overflow in my own life, so I needed to share this with other people, and I would need to get on Instagram Live for 8 days straight. We put together every day was its own thing. And I did it. And I have to tell you guys, I only did 6 out of 8 days, but I did do it. I got on there, and nervous as I was, like I did it. And in the first day, I remember I felt so good. Like I really did that. I'm like, God, we did it. And then I'm not really like anticipating anything, but like we talked about, it's in your subconscious mind. It's already drilled in your mind that you have this faith, so whatever I've been thinking about leading up to that point, it was already building, and then now it's even more building because I'm developing this relationship with God. I'm showing God, I trust you. I'll do whatever you say for me to do. I got on live, and then so like a few weeks later, or even a couple of months, because I remember this is in August, so a couple of months later, I'd be heading out and going solo traveling, something that I would always like dream of doing, and that's even an act of faith in and of itself. But I'm just saying, me taking that step, showing God, okay, I trust you, led to something even greater, and then something even greater, and it just kind of was like a domino effect from that moment. So just
That's an amazing story. Yeah, I like how you brought up, some key words, trust and hope, because those go along with faith. And, for those of you who just don't believe that you are living in faith every day, challenge yourself to stop and think, because I love your story, how you heard a clear message, and despite your default personality, you took a leap. You took a leap anyway, and you said to yourself, I've got to see what comes of this. I have no evidence that this is going to yield whatever fruits that I'm hoping for, but I'm doing it anyway. And that's the very definition of faith. And oftentimes, Star, when we walk in obedience, even when we have to lose, because I think that that's the biggest thing for a lot of people. They don't want to come out of their comfort zone. They don't want to lose something. But when you dig deeper, it really is an act of exercising your faith. Digging deeper for you meant coming out of my comfort zone and going on Instagram Live, something that I never thought I could do. But here you are now. And we get so many comments, on a weekly basis about how what we're saying resonates with people. So somebody like you who are saying, my default is shyness, my goodness, that's got to be more than just you showing up, to give you these messages to bring forth.
Exactly. And you're right, it's not just you, it's you mixed with God, mixed with
your higher power, everything. whatever that is for you, because it's beyond you, right? It truly is. Exactly. It's beyond you. So yeah, I love your story. I really do. And speaking of the travel, I just remember, and she's being really modest here, Man, I just remember her very first solo journey. Well, it probably wasn't the first one. This was one of the very solo journey, and the one that for me I had to exercise a lot of faith, because there was not just exercising faith, there was a lot of fear deep within when she announced that she was going to a place that she had never been before, didn't know a single soul, didn't know when she was coming back. And I looked at her like, are you kidding me? And are you out of your mind? And how is it that you don't realize the impact it's going to have on your family? But she was hell-bent. She said she had gotten this clear message and she needed to be obedient to what that message was. And, I would be okay if she went somewhere where she was accessible and, easy to reach. This girl came up with, I am going to Guatemala, and not just Guatemala, the city, Guatemala, the jungle, where there is very little civilization and very little connection to the outside world. And I think, I always tell this story, especially when I give talks about, you want to talk about courageous, you want to talk about resilience, listen to her story, because many of you would not do that. You would not come out of the comfort of your own home or the comfort of your life to go somewhere where you are in the jungle, in the wilderness, and just seeking. This is the very definition of digging deeper, because you had to have dug so deep to be able to do something like that, and to be able to meet up with people,
you'll be okay,
and trust that you'll be okay. And tell them about the tremendous blessing this brought to your life. Because when she came back, I saw so much growth.
Yeah, it brought so many things. It's something that's so near and dear to my heart. And you talk about in your story, you always had that entrepreneurial spirit. So you knew, like, even when you were going to write that resignation letter, you were so nervous, but you were like, I have to do this because there's something I see it, I want it, but I can't see.
It's not tangible. I can't really touch it, so I can't tell you with certainty what's going to happen, but I know that something is going to happen, regardless of what that something is.
Exactly. And then, so you had that anchoring of faith, and so did I in this journey. So, it happened very quickly, and that's how things happen when God calls you, when He tells you to do something. It's about to happen, so you better get ready. And so I'd be waking up in the middle of the night, and just sometimes I'm just up, can't sleep. I open up my Bible, and then the message was so plain as day, so clear, literally telling me to go. Like, these messages, like, if I'd open my Bible any other time, I wouldn't read that message. Like, everything was pointing me to this place. So it's like, you can't back away from this. You have to go, and you have to know that you'll be okay. These things are telling you you'll be okay.
Right.
Your purpose is there. Your purpose is where I'm sending you. So go and do it. And even in your nervousness, like, it's okay to be nervous, but don't let it so overcome you that you just don't.
And that's unfortunately what happens to a lot of people. That's what's holding a lot of us back, that fear, that nervousness. But if you believe in the fruits of the Spirit, you will recognize that the spirit of fear is not one that you've been given. You acquired that through the world and what the world is telling you about yourself. When you dig deeper, you recognize that what is there, and what is there, you have to stand on it and believe that these are the spirits that were given to me. These are the spirits that will resonate with me. These are the spirits that I have to take my marching order and stand on and believe, being hopeful, being bold. That was a very bold move, going to the Guatemalan jungle. And, the tremendous blessings, the way you were able to bless people's lives. I wish you could tell the story of the person that you brought out of depression just by your presence. And even if it's one thing, that's your mission. Those of you who are in the military, you know what a mission is, right? And you keep your eye on that mission. until mission is accomplished or orders are vacated, right? So for you, you didn't know what your mission was.
Yeah.
But coming out of that, man, and not even her mama could hold her back, because I was just like, you sure? You sure that's what you have to do? You can't choose Mexico City or something where there's like a lot of people and people go in there all the time. Nope, I'm going to the jungle of Guatemala. And not only am I taking a flight in, I have to take a what bus ride?
They don't even call it a bus, it's a chicken bus.
Oh my goodness. Like, yes. So let this be an example to you of, how much we have faith within us. And in order for you to understand how to exercise that faith, you have to walk faith-filled every single day. Like Sabriana said, it's not a passive thing, it's active. Even when you don't see it, it's something that you have to actively exercise in your mind. Why don't we tell them some important factors as it relates to exercising their faith? Because some people might be listening and they might be wondering to themselves, what in the world are you talking about? If this is some kind of religion or whatever the case may be, not necessarily. It's about who we are as beings. And here's how you dig in and exercise your faith.
Yeah. Okay. So one that we have, tapping into your sound mind, something that, again, we've been created with. So we're made of a sound mind, meaning clarity.
Yes.
It's one of the things that we're created with. It's important to rid yourself of any blockages and toxins that may be hindering you from accessing the clarity. Your mind needs to be sharp and discerning in order to know which way to move next.
That's right. That's right. And sometimes you may not be able to do that on your own, particularly if you're dealing with issues that create the block, i.e. mental health issues, family issues, life issues, work issues. You have to shut the noise down.
And even when you're dealing with mental health issues, even if anybody else doesn't know, you and your spirit, what the big block is. So you have to try your hardest to even if you can't eliminate the whole thing, just try to start shedding at some of it piece by piece by piece by piece, even if it's so slow, because you have to be so clear, you have to be so sharp. This is reminding me of another story when I went to live in New York for a little bit, and at this time, I guess I was struggling, and I didn't even sometimes have my phone turned on, and I've never lived in New York. I've been to New York, but I've never just lived there and had to get on the train or get to certain places.
Although you were born there.
Although I was born there. So sometimes when I really need my GPS on my phone, where am I going? I had to have this sound mind. I needed to tap into that all the way. So God could tell me, no, keep walking this way. When you walk this way a little bit, it's time to turn right. And I would always make it to where I needed to go without having my phone. That's why it's so important to be clear.
Yes. That's faith.
That's
faith. So in a place I'm lost. I have no idea where I'm going, but I'm going to trust that I'm hearing, from the spirit, that this is where you walk. This is when you stop.
Exactly.
Yes. And I remember you telling me that story. You're absolutely right. And if you've ever been to New York before, you know how long those blocks are and how challenging it could be between one street to the next, especially if you're not a New Yorker. So it can be really difficult navigating your way around the city. But hearing you talk about, not having a GPS on your phone, nonetheless, but using your faith. And the messages that you were able to hear and discern as a result of listening. Sound mind, definitely. What else can we tell them about, exercising their faith?
So next we'll have prayer. So in your prayer time, allow moments before and after to stop and sit in silence. And I think that's so important. Sometimes we just get down on our knees and pray, or wherever we are, even if we just pray. and we don't take that time to actually listen. Maybe we're afraid of what God is going to say to us, because sometimes he answers us right away. Sometimes it's later on, but sometimes it's right away. And sometimes the thing we were praying about, maybe we wanted to hold on to that thing and we don't want to hear let it go. So we just pray it and then hurry up and move on. It's important to sit there and actually let him, like, you know, speak to you back.
I agree. And prayer to me is also not a passive thing. I know that some of you probably grew up, you know, with rituals of prayer and maybe saying certain types of prayers for certain things, and that's okay. You know, be grounded in, you know, your foundation and what you learned early on, because that's also an anchor. But I think that you're right. Something you said resonated. Sometimes we don't always want to hear because we're afraid of what it might be. And what if I can't be obedient to what this is? Or what if I can't fulfill this? But even deeper yet, I've heard so many people say to me, well, God never talks to me. I've never heard from God. And that is such a falsehood. It's a falsehood because he speaks to every single one of us, because he is within us. Whether you believe it or not, you have this higher power, this being living within you that is providing you with direction and guidance every single day, keeping you alive, keeping you safe, moments that you can think of that were God winks for you. And God winks are simply those times when you're just like, wow, that happened to me, or that person said that to me. Those are God winks to remind you, hey, I'm here. You know, and I love how you began to say that, oh, so you have to stop and listen. I read somewhere in one of my devotionals that a lot of times we don't hear from God because we're not listening. We're not listening with childlike spirits. Children will hear everything. Do they not?
Yeah.
That's because they don't have all the blockage in their minds that we as adults have, or they don't allow things to get in their way.
And clutter them.
Yes. They're just so rudimentary, so foundational, so elementary that they're going to hear simple messages. And a lot of times God is speaking to you in this still small voice, but it's you. You're not listening. You're just ready to rush and get up and go about your day. Or you're saying your prayers and you are far into next week.
Yeah.
That's why you can't hear.
Right.
Allow yourself to just hear in a childlike state. It's called surrendering.
Yes. I'm so happy that you said that.
It's called surrendering. That's all it is. Stop trying to be the boss. Surrender, because you're not. You're being called, you're being used for a purpose. See, God doesn't need us, you know. We think God needs us. He doesn't need you.
Yeah.
He wants you.
He wants you.
He wants you. He doesn't need you, though.
He actually wants you so bad. Like, he wants you to invite him into your space. Like, he's like wanting us to be like, God, can you come? Like, and he will be there right away.
Right away. Like a snap of a finger. I got you. But you got to be paying attention. You got to be looking for it. You got to be listening for it. And sometimes he'll sound the alarm so loud that you can't deny it. And other times it's just this small whisper.
Yeah. And also on adding on to, I love it. Sometimes also he's there, but he's so dead quiet, like he's watching us. I love those moments too, though, because he's testing your faith now. He's like, okay,
what you're gonna do.
Yes, I gave you those God winks that you mentioned,
that
but
you
now
needed.
Yes, that you needed, but now let me see what you're gonna do with it, and let me just close my mouth and see how you're gonna move now.
Right.
You know,
that's the part where trust comes in. That's the part where your faith comes in. Yes. So you asked for something, I gave it to you. I gave you the God wink that you needed to let you know I'm present, I'm here, because you're somebody who needs something tangible. Now I'm in the background. Let me see what you're going to do. Yeah, I know. I love talking about this stuff. My goodness. What else do we have for them in terms of exercising faith and digging in?
So we also have to be disciplined and you're seeking more. Building faith and hope for something greater. Do not allow doubt to have a place at the table. And once you let it in, it will take over.
Yeah, it's true.
Discipline.
Yeah. Discipline is something that society does not have today. Discipline and consistency. I can't tell you the number of people who come to me for help and they love everything that they get in the session. But then they go away and they close up the notebook, or they close up the piece of paper that they took the note on, or they just kind of, block out everything that they heard and go back to status quo. Status quo just means this is my default. I'm just going to wait for something to happen.
Back to what's comfortable.
You go back to what's comfortable. You got to get in there and do the work. And part of doing the work is discipline. If you want to lose weight, you can't just say, I want to lose weight.
You have to get in there and lose the weight. Yeah.
You got to get in there and exercise and eat right and do the things that you need to do with consistency and discipline, because you have faith that at the end of the 30 days, at the end of the 40 days, whatever your goal is, that I'm going to lose the weight. That's faith. That's faith. So definitely being disciplined requires digging in, requires staying consistent, requires staying the course. And doubt cannot be on the table. Let me tell you, if it's on the table, you've already lost. You've already lost. Because doubt is a barrier, is it not?
It is a barrier. It is a barrier, but it's a barrier that can be removed. So let's remove it so that we can get to, our next step.
Yeah.
And sometimes it just literally is a step. Like not here, but right in front of you.
Absolutely. And we talked many times about that. I think 2 episodes ago when we talked about 3 feet from goal, like giving up, so quickly because you feel like I've been on this path for 40, 50 years and nothing has happened. Well, it just might at year 51.
I agree.
Yeah, so good. Amazing. So amazing. I know we got to take some questions. Do you want to go shift gears a little bit? And maybe we can, with the wrap up, we can come back and kind of give you some more on, faith. So some of you sent in your questions. This is the time for you to put your questions in, in the comment box for us. But some of you, again, have sent in your questions ahead of time. And again, that dedicated email address for sending in your questions are askthetalkdrlive@gmail.com. You can send your questions to us. We'll confidentially answer them. And some of them will air here on the show. But we love when you come on live and you put something in the chat comment box for us to respond to. That's great as well, because this is your space, So let's take some questions.
Yes. Okay. So how does one respond when someone says they do not believe in a higher power?
You want to take a stab at that one first?
Okay, let me read it again. How does one respond when someone says they do not believe in a higher power? So I take it as someone's talking, you're having a conversation with someone and they tell you, I don't believe in anything. Some may call it atheist or
agnosticism,
or whatever it is. This question. I think that personally, in my own belief in God and Jesus Christ, those are my higher powers. I still talk to this person. I don't try to shove God down their throat like, no, you have to believe in God or else so-and-so. I mean, it's okay to let them know what you know and what might happen. But you just showing up and you exercising your faith, exercising what you know in your day-to-day life, or even just in that conversation. Maybe you only have them for a few minutes. Maybe you only have them for the next few seconds. In those next few seconds, show them what it really means to be a believer in Jesus Christ, a believer in whoever, for me it's Jesus Christ. Show them what that means. Maybe not just by saying Jesus in every single word that you speak, but just in your gentleness, in your compassion, in your listening to them, and they might walk away from that like, wow, I've never met anybody like that before. You know, like I want to be just like that person.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
What an amazing answer you just gave.
Yeah.
What an amazing answer. There's nothing more to say about that. You're absolutely right. So for the person that sent this in, how do you respond to someone who doesn't believe in a higher power? Let your life be an example. Enough said.
Yeah.
You have to walk the walk. You're not going to convince anybody, and like Star Brianna said, shoving it down their throat, because guess what? You came for a fight. When somebody tells you they don't agree with you, they're ready to do battle. They want to see if you can go the distance, because our ego takes over, and I'm going to win this fight no matter what. Let your life be an example. You could ask the person what they believe in. Help me understand where you are, and meet them where you are, where they are, through your life. Like she said, you never know who you're being a blessing to just by being a blessing. And that's so, so important. Remember, you can't shove things down people's throat. I would silently pray for them, because remember how I said earlier, God doesn't need you, he wants you. Let him do the job that he has to do in that moment, in that space and time. Your job is to simply be who you were made to be, and let your life be an example.
Exactly.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for that. All right, let's take another one.
Okay. So, how can I overcome my fear of asking for help? Your turn.
Yeah. All right. So thank you for your question. This person asked, how can I overcome my fear of asking for help? I get this a lot. Many people feel that asking for help is a sign of weakness. And again, it depends on how you were raised, under what conditions you were raised in. I'm thinking about a patient I recently had who said, my mom told me to have your own, never depend on anybody. And to be honest with you, if I'm being transparent, that message was something that was ingrained in me as well. And over the years, I had to learn that if I truly wanted to grow beyond where I was, I needed to recognize that I'm not an island. And that, again, faith, God sends people in your life specifically to propel you to the next place, to propel you to the next, because they are key pieces to your purpose. So if you're stuck in this space of, I'm not asking anybody for help because YZ, that thinking comes from the world. Asking for help is a sign of strength. It is a sign that you recognize that you cannot move from point A to point B without another human relationship. Whether it's at work, whether it's in your personal life, whether it's in your social life, there are people everywhere, particularly placed and planted at given places in your time, in your life for such a time as this.
Yeah.
You got to believe that.
I love that answer too.
Yeah.
I think that you answered that question perfectly as well. I'm definitely in the unlearning and then believing that there's people, like you said, strategically placed everywhere to help you, because sometimes we need people. We do. We need help.
Yeah, we were created for human relationships. And if we believe that isolation or withdrawal or staying in our own corner because I got this, I can do this ourselves, then, wake up 1 year later and see where you are. You gotta really overcome that fear. It's holding you back. And remember how we said earlier, again, faith. Fear is not a spirit that you were given. So you have to let go of that fear and recognize that when somebody wants to help you, your response is thank you. Thank you and amen and amen. Because you just recognize that you got a gift. Indeed. Yeah. All right. So, tell us about a time, when you accepted help and what it looked like in your life. I would love to hear your comments about that. Maybe you don't have any questions today, but I'm so grateful for the people who send in these wonderful questions because they really, help to support other people as well. All right. So let's take one more. Do you want to do this one or that one? Which one do you want to do?
Let's do this one.
Okay.
How can I learn to treat myself like I treat other people?
I think you should go first with that one. How can I learn to treat myself like I treat other people? So here's somebody who is, they show up for other people. But when it comes to themselves, they beat themselves up. They're not there for themselves.
I think, so it's springtime. We do spring cleaning, and they will start to see all those like marketing emails coming out. There's spring cleaning, spring cleaning. Do some spring cleaning in your own life. Like, who is it that or who in my circle am I having these one-sided relationships with? Or even if they're not like in your circle, they're not like your close friend or just like anybody you meet, you just naturally just give them all of you and they go away feeling just amazing. And then you feel like all the life has just been sucked out of you. Or when you need somebody to show up for you, nobody's there. I would start to do some spring cleaning and recognize the things that I'm giving that I need to leave for myself. And I need to give to myself. Like, what are the things that I notice when I'm giving to other people? They just kind of absorb and they just seem like they have this glow afterwards. Why can't I have that for myself? Like, really take notice of that. Like, really, like, give yourself this like science experiment. Like what is the thing that people love about, I guess, me, and why can't I give that to myself and just start to practice whatever those things are.
Self-compassion. Yeah, indeed. I love your answer, Star Brianna, and I love how you said they leave with a glow and you're just drained. It's like your sponge is dripping because I've just given you all of my free-flowing water and now I am just dry, And I think part of what I'm hearing from you is the balance that we all need, that it is important to recognize that when we take inventory, like, quite frankly, there are people in life that are takers, that are givers, and then there are the in-betweens, right? Which one are you? Are you a taker? Are you a giver? Regardless of where you find yourself on the spectrum, always recognize that yourself is also important. How can you be used if you have nothing? And you have to recognize when it's time to replenish your own soul, when it's time for you to fill yourself up as well. You can't be filling yourself with doubt, or that was so dumb, why did you do that? Or you're always making those stupid mistakes. But then when your friend comes to you and say, I made this huge mistake, you sit there and you say, oh, that's okay. Let me tell you, so mistakes are made. It's going to be okay. But you just last week told yourself that was a dumb move. That was really stupid, and so we do that to ourselves and we don't recognize that the same thing that you are filling other people up with, look in the mirror. Turn some of that in on yourself, because yes, literally after a while you will be dry, and dryness leaves resentment, anger, frustration, and then you're no good to anybody, not yourself and not anybody else. So really, it's about that balance. You can be a giver, but remember, even givers need some of that free-flowing water too. Fill yourself up so that you give people the best of you and not the rest of you.
I love that.
Yeah, indeed. I love these questions. All right, I wish we could stay. I know that we are always well over time, but when we get into these topics, you have to understand that we've got to give them their due, and we want to be helpful to you. So remember, turn in your questions throughout the week. We can respond to them for you on the show, or we can respond to them as you send them in. This is Ask the Talk Doctor Live, and we just want this to be a place where you grow along with us. So we want to kind of wrap up by just reiterating some of those tips that we talked about today. By the way, Star Brianna, great topic. I love that you chose this topic, so here are some helpful things that that you can take away with you. Take notes or go back later and listen to this again, because we really truly want you to dig deeper and exercise your faith. So what are some of those things that people can do to practice faith?
Yeah. So remembering that faith cancels all doubt. Doubt in anything good, self-doubt, and doubt that you should be hopeful. Deepened faith requires maturity, having lived through some things, seeing this life through flexible instead of rigid lenses, having had a foundation of faith where your upbringing was or is grounded in faith. Also, that faith leaves the door open for more than what you see in front of you.
Yeah, it does, indeed.
So you want to read the last two?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give some pointers, some tips that we'll leave with you. Remember, faith is a muscle. Exercise it, and it's going to grow. Faith is going to waste away if it isn't used. So again, you're going to just kind of be ingrown, like your muscles that you don't use atrophy. The same thing with your faith. It just kind of wastes away, and then you feel like you have no faith. So find situations every single day to apply your faith. Read the word or sources that's going to help you to grow, that's going to help to deepen your faith. We mentioned Hebrews 11:1, where it really gives us a good definition of what faith is. So we really want you to remember it is something that you hope for, even though you do not see it. Be intentional about trusting God or your higher power. When you insert intention into the mix, you show up differently. So be intentional, be disciplined in your seeking. Seek after more, become hungry for more, and you'll find that you'll be so much more deepened. Yes, indeed. So in closing, again, I want to reiterate that faith is being sure of what you hope for and certain of what you do not see. How we see things reflects our faith. Faith helps us to keep the door open when the world says we should close it. Faith helps us to believe that a wayward child is going to turn things around when we can't even see any sign of it. Faith says that your soulmate is coming. Ladies who are listening, faith says your soulmate is coming. Even though you've been in a dry season, no prospects, no consideration. Faith tells you that you can have a child when the doctors say that your womb is closed. Faith says that you can finish that college degree even when your finances say otherwise. Faith says that you can get that promotion even when no one else at the top looks like you. Faith says you can have that business. Finally, faith says that God can give you the desires of your heart if you just keep delighting yourself in Him, staying on the high road. And if you open up your eyes, you have already won. Yeah. You have already won. So we hope that this message resonated with you today. We hope that you're going to join us again. Each and every Friday, we're here, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. Whether you're just waking up, whether you're on your way out the door to go to work, whether it's your lunchtime, wherever you are, remember to tune in to Ask the Talk Doctor Live. We also invite you to subscribe to our channel. Don't be greedy. Don't keep this to yourself. Other people need to find us. This channel needs to grow. So we ask that you like, subscribe, give us comments, share it with your friends. And we will see you next time on Ask the Talk Doctor Live. Keep growing your faith. Bye.